everybody, it's Professor Goldstein. Hope you all had a restful, good spring break, vacation, holiday, whatever it is you did. I hope it was relaxing and you're ready to get back to work, and hopefully you're all doing well. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about your project again, which is the 5-page paper that will be due at the end of the semester. I'm going to put it up on your Brightspace so that you can all read through it. But basically, the first page, as I said, has like a 2-paragraph portion of it. That's the kind of like moment where you came up with the idea for your business. I call it the aha moment. A lot of people call it, different things. The point of origin, the thought, the where we came up with it, the brilliance, whatever they call it. You're going to come up with a 2-paragraph and send it to me about your business, whatever business it is you decide to create. Remember, it's a small business. It's from your home, or you could go out and do it at a flea market or something like that. But you're not going to be paying rent for your business. I don't want to see any place where on your financials where you're putting down rent. And basically, it's how you came up with the idea, where you came up with it, when you came up with it, what your idea was, what it's based upon. Was it a dream? Was it walking down the street? Did somebody tell you about this type of business? Wherever you came up with it and what you did with it to make it yours. And that's really the aha moment, and that's what I'm looking for. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit today about the stock market. I kind of haven't really started on stocks, and I kind of went into it a little bit, but I'd like for all of you, now this is not an assignment necessarily, it really is something that I think would be beneficial to you, but I do want all of you to kind of look into a stock for yourself. That doesn't mean you have to buy it. It means that you should be following it. Choose a stock, something that you are interested in, something that you purchase every day, something that you own, something that you've heard about that's going to be doing well in the future. It could be any stock as long as it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ exchange. Those two exchanges, those are the two marketplaces where stocks are bought and sold within the United States. Now, there are stock markets all over the world. There's a London stock market, there's a Tokyo stock market, there's stock markets everywhere. But the two stock markets I want you to focus on are the two major stock markets in the United States, which are the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. The New York Stock Exchange is the older exchange. It kind of trades in what are called the blue chips. These are the these are the companies that have been around for a long time. That have, been financially stable for many, many years. The NASDAQ is much more technology, newer companies, businesses that have just started out within the last, decade or so, 2 decades. They really are the newer stocks. So wherever your stock is traded, as long as it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. Now, most stocks have what are called symbols. That means that, like, let's say you're buying Coca-Cola. There is a letter pattern for Coca-Cola that trades. It trades under Coca-Cola. So if you look it up under Google, how much is a Coca-Cola share trading for today? And then it'll give you the name of the what it trades on the New York Stock Exchange, or how much does General Motors trade for today, or how much does Nike trade for today, or how much does Tesla trade for today. It'll give you the name, the symbol on whatever exchange it's trading on, and then it'll give you the price of a share of what's called common stock. There's different types of stock, but right now we're going to be focusing on what's called common stock, and it'll give you what it's trading for that day. That means at that moment, if you purchased a share of stock on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, how much that share of stock is trading for. Now, it could be $70, $1,000, $500. That is if you break up the amount of shares. Now, let's say there's 100 million shares of Apple, right? And each share is trading at $30, right? So that's, let's say $3. $3 a share of Apple at 100 million shares. That means that the world, the trading community, Everybody who buys considers that Apple's worth, all the financial analysts consider Apple's worth $300 million. That's what it means. So when you say what your share is a piece, an ownership in that company. You are owning a part of that corporation, right? It's not a sole proprietorship. This is a corporation. And the corporation's under a different thing. We're going to talk about corporations later on this week. But basically, you own a piece of that corporation. So when I ask you to look up a share of stock, I want you to Google a share of stock that you like, that you want to follow for the rest of the semester. And you're just going to look at it, and you're going to tell me, you can tell yourself, I don't really need to know. Write down what the share of stock is at that moment, how much it costs. You're going to follow that share of stock, see if it goes up or down during the year. We're going to figure out why it goes up or down. Right now, I have a feeling today the stock market may take a hit. I'm talking on Monday after the holidays. Why do I think it's going to take a hit? Because obviously the political situation in the world is unstable, especially the markets are unstable. So the market was going up last week considerably because they thought there was a ceasefire in the Middle East and they thought things were calming down. It turns out that the ceasefire didn't hold and things are going to be heating up again. I hope not for long. I hope I'm all for peace. So hopefully the markets will go down today. I know they will go down today, and hopefully they'll recover when things ultimately get better. But let's talk about what happens with your share of stock. So you purchase the share of stock. Now, in the old days, you used to get an actual piece of stock. You got a form, a folded form that said 1 share of stock, or 100 shares of stock, or 1,000 shares of stock. That meant that you actually had a physical property that you own the share of stock. Now most people trade online and they buy 1,000 shares of stock, 500 shares of stock, and they own it in their account. Their world of that they have an account with a certain company like Robinhood or whatever it is that you trade with, Charles Schwab, whatever it is you trade on, and you quickly can buy a share of stock. In the old days, you had to call a stock broker to actually trade your share of stock. They actually had to purchase it for you or sell it for you. Now that person is sort of eliminated. You could buy and sell your own shares of stock. And there's ways of buying stock. There's ways of you could what's called short of stock, long of stock. You could do different things with your stock to play around with the market, to kind of bet on what the stock is going to do. People do that all the time. I do that sometimes. Basically, the way I trade, though, is I buy a share of stock and I hold on to that share of stock and for the long term, and I collect what's called dividends on the stock, and also hopefully the stock will go up. So when I say this, let me give you an example. So let's say I buy a share of Amazon for $500, and every year I've seen in the last 5 years that Amazon has gone up 20 or 30% each year, right? That means that the price of the stock has gone up 20 or 30%. Now, sometimes stocks will what's called split. When they get very high, and when they vote on it in the company, they could split the share of stock. And instead of having a $500 share of stock, you could have two $250 shares of stock. They'll give you 2 shares of stock for your 1 share of stock. They'll break it in half so that those 2 shares of stock will rise also. They'll increase the amount of stock. They'll vote to increase the amount of stock in the company. But that doesn't happen all the time. What usually happens is your stock will go up a certain amount each year, and some stocks, not all stocks, but some stocks also pay a thing called dividends, which means they take a certain amount of the profits that the company is making, and they share it with the shareholders, with the stockholders, and you get a certain amount of money each year from your share of stock. And that money could either go into you could take that money and use it and pay taxes on it, or you could reinvest that money into buying more stock and not pay taxes on it until you actually sell the stock. Now, while you're trading your shares of stock, you are not paying taxes on the earnings because they're what's called unrealized earnings. So if your share of stock goes up every year, you don't pay taxes on the stock going up. So it's a very unusual thing in that your stock sits there, it goes up. You may get wealthier, but it's not real money. It's potential money. It's called unrealized gains. So what happens is that only when you sell your share of stock do you have to pay the taxes on the profit that you've made on the stock. Not on the stock itself. You paid for that already. No, on the whatever unrealized gains you made. Let's say your share of stock went from $250 to $500. You only pay taxes on the $250, but you do have to pay the taxman. You have to pay the federal government on the profits that you make from your stock. So I usually encourage you to find long-term stocks that you don't touch, that you just let grow, that you let the markets grow. You look for a stock that will do well on the long term. Now, I'm not a day trader. I know a lot of day traders. I have a lot of friends who are day traders who trade on what's called margins. They're very, very small amounts of money that the stock goes up. Sometimes it could be pennies. And the stock will go up a few cents, and they buy lots and lots of stock, and they make their profit on that, and then they put that into something else, and they're constantly on their computer trading stock every single day. And you've seen these guys. They have the big Bloomberg machines in their homes, and they're trading stock very, very quickly. They may not trade anything one day, and then in one day they may trade 100 shares of stock. And because they know those stocks are going to be hitting, or sometimes they just don't even have to trade them. They just program them into the computers, and when a stock hits a certain number, it automatically sells, or when a stock hits a certain low, they automatically buy. And a lot of major corporations now, most of the major trading companies, do a lot of their trading like this, and a lot of them use AI to do their trading. Artificial intelligence. They use that instead of a human being. The artificial intelligence figures out when a stock has hit its high, when a stock has hit its low, and a lot of times the way the market moves these days, goes up and down, has a lot to do with what's called these institutional traders that buy and sell stock in massive amounts. So I'm not talking about like you or me. I'm talking about major companies that spend hundreds of billions of dollars, close to trillions of dollars, trading for us. They do the trading for us. A lot of them work for companies. So like Charles Schwab, which is a big stock company, trades for millions and millions of people. And when they see an opportunity, these computers, these AI computers, or their analysts, they will buy or sell stock on behalf of their clients, and that happens with me a lot. I control. Let me explain to you how my portfolio works, so you understand your own portfolio and how you may build it. And everybody has their own portfolios in terms of what they do with their money, and it's very important that you invest your money wisely as you can. But it's very much a gamble. Everyone jokes about the stock market, but basically it's a large casino gambling table, the biggest casino gambling table in the world, and you're putting bets on certain companies. Now these are bets that are based upon your knowledge of these companies, just like you would if you were a professional gambler. You have to know about these companies. You have to have a history of these companies. You have to learn about these companies. But, you could always bet wrong. And a company that you think is going to do well or not do well is going to prove you wrong. Something happens. Somebody comes in, somebody dies at the company, a product fails at a company, the market, the world situation changes, and all of a sudden your stock price plummets. And you said, wow, I was following this stock for 5 years and I thought this was the time to buy, and it's gone down even further and I've lost, thousands of dollars. Well, you don't really lose it necessarily. It's unrealized losses. You could hold on to the stock and hope it goes back up, and which is what I do usually. When the markets take a downturn like they're going to today, I don't sell my stock. I don't sell my stock in a panic. Actually, the time to buy stock is when the markets are going down. I know it's counterintuitive, it doesn't make much sense, but you understand what I'm saying in that if the market goes down, you're going to get a better price on a share of stock. When the market goes down and your stock is going down, you should look at where your stock came from, where what its highest was. Hopefully it will return to that high point again. So the best time to buy, smart people, wait for the markets to take a downturn. That's when they buy. They sell when the market is at its height. They sell their stock when the market is doing extraordinarily well, when it's doing record levels. Sometimes they sell and they're upset because they sell too soon and the market keeps going up and up and up. Sometimes people buy at the low, when they think that the market is at its lowest, and they also get upset because then the market goes down even further and they lose a lot of money. But that's neither here nor there. You follow a stock and you kind of guess at when a good time to buy that share of stock is. And then you go in all in. You buy as much stock as you can. In one fell swoop, you try to buy it at its lowest point, thinking that it will go up. Hopeful, with knowledge and with forethought and with information, and as much information as you have, you hope that stock will go up. Every time that stock goes up, that's money that you're making, unrealized gains that you're making on that share of stock. So if I buy a stock at $25 and it goes up to $100, I've made $75 on each share of stock that I've purchased. It's a great thing to not really work. You're not really working. It's not like you're hard at work, working on the side of the road or construction or working in a hospital or working in a school or working, in an office. No, your money is working for you. Your money is doing the work. That's how people get wealthy. I mean, really, that's how people get wealthy in the world, not just in America, but throughout the world. They have their money work for them. They're not doing the work. I mean, you're trading. Yes, you're trading, but you're not really working. It's not hard work. Now, over the past 50, 100 years, the stock market has outproduced pretty much every other form of investment there is. I mean, real estate's a tremendous investment. In real estate, I think if you're a high-end real estate person, it may have outperformed the stock market in some areas, maybe. But the stock market, really, if you invest in stocks in certain times and you get them at their low and you don't sell for 20, 30 years, your stock will go up a considerable amount, more than anything else that you could have put your money into. You definitely don't want to put your money into a bank. You want to have some money in a bank that's liquid, so in case of an emergency you have money. You want to have a savings account. But you definitely do not earn a lot of money by putting your money in a savings account. You earn a few percentage points. Or you don't want to have, all your money in CDs. I mean, it's good if you want to have an emergency fund just in case, and you could have that money. But you put your money in the stock market or in real estate or in other things, gold, silver, whatever, commodities, because you want to earn more money on your money. You don't earn a lot of money on your money in a bank. The bank uses your money to earn money. You don't earn money. So best bet is you come up with a percentage of how much money each year you're going to put in the market. Now, sometimes you don't even have a choice of putting money or not money. Most of you have if you have a job one day, or if you have a job now, some of you have what's called 401ks. Sometimes they have come under different names. But basically, these are funds that your company invests money in on your behalf. In other words, they'll put a certain percentage of your salary into an account every year, and that money goes towards the purchase of stock. Now, it doesn't necessarily go towards individual stocks necessarily. It might go towards stocks that are grouped together, and those Those are very, very good. It might even be like different stocks like towards technology, stocks that are a generalized stock that there might be Fortune 500 stocks. It might be the top 100 stocks. These are groupings of stocks that will give you an average stock return. Sometimes you'll have more control with your 401k. You could choose different funds to put into that you think will do well. You think maybe technology is going to do well. You'll put your funds into technology, or you want to have a more secure fund that goes into, let's say, gold or something like that. That would be a fund you could put into. They're all different types of different funds that you invest in with your 401k. And that 401k, sometimes you could put money into yourself and contribute your own money as well, and your company will match it, or your company puts in a certain percentage every year, like 6%, 7% of your salary, they will put into your fund. And over time, your 401k, you watch it all the time. You're always looking at it. As a college professor at Kingsborough, they put our money into either what's called the TI. Well, most of us are in TIAA-CREF, which is TIAA, which is a huge company that does investing for teachers and healthcare workers and so forth. And they put the city puts a certain amount of my money from the money that I make at Kingsborough, and puts it into a what they call a 403b, but it's really a 401k. And I can invest into that also. I could take some money, a certain amount of money every year, and invest into that also. And then I have a certain amount of control over what I can do with what's called mutual funds. These are the groupings of the stocks. I could say where I want my money invested. And I'm moving my hands. I see myself moving my hands. I talk with my hands a lot. And that's what you do. You can control where your stocks go. On my own, in my own life, without Kingsborough, without anything else, whatever money I make, whatever money I save, I put into either real estate or to the stock market. And in the stock market itself, I invest my own money in the stock market, and I put that into usually individual stocks. I put it into other things also. I put it into mutual funds also, but a lot of times, and all different. I also invest in commodities, all kinds of things, but I invest in individual stocks. I follow those stocks, and I listen to what people are saying about stocks and where we're going in the future and so forth. You have to be a little bit of a future prognosticator. You have to figure out where people are going, and I invest in those companies, and then I hold it. I try to invest at their very low, and then I try to hold it until it gets higher, and then I sell it or I keep holding it. I have many stocks that I've never sold, that I bought. I'm now 62 years old. I'm an old man. I bought these stocks when I was in my 20s and 30s, and I've kept those stocks and never sold them, and many of them have grown substantially and split into different stocks. So they got to a certain high and they split. And the best stocks I've ever bought, and I didn't buy them at the very beginning, but I bought them very early on, I think, in their company history, because they're still going right now, and I bought them when I was in my 30s, are stocks like Apple, and stocks like Amazon, and stocks like Home Depot, companies that are still around right now that I bought when they were still fairly young companies, that I had been following them, and I thought, now obviously the biggest moneymaker for me, in terms of my lifestyle and everything else, has been Apple. I've never touched my Apple stock. It's there. It's done very well for me. I've made a lot of money off of it, but it's unrealized gains. I've never touched those shares of stock. I know you're saying to yourself, but well, that money is there from my future. God forbid, I need cash. I could always sell it, and I will sell it one day maybe. Or it's there for my kids, or for my grandchildren, or for whatever else. In other words, I've been able to take that stock and hold that stock because I haven't had to use it. But I've had to sell other shares of stock for other things, but never the stocks that I think are going to do well over a long period. And I've never touched my Apple stock. I've never touched my Amazon stock. So those are the types of stock that I've bought, I've held, and I continue to hold because I know I have a feeling that they will still do well in the future. They've had their ups and downs. I've lost money on them, unrealized losses. They've gone up and down, but right now they're pretty good. They will go down today. They will hurt me today. I will be very, very affected by how much money I will lose today. But it's not real money. It's unrealized money. It's money that I haven't taken out of the market yet. And then eventually the money will go back up. It's very much a roller coaster. There have been times over the last, I started investing as a kid, really when I was like 14 years old. But really started investing when I started working in my 20s, and really, really started investing in my 30s. That's when I started putting a lot of money away. I was single. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. Started putting money away. Then when I got married, money is less. But I've invested every year of my life since, my 20s. Since I was really 21 and I got out of college. Every job I've had, I've put money aside. Money I could have used for a restaurant and money I could have used for a vacation. I've saved money, scraped and saved money. I've taken extra jobs. I've had 2 or 3 jobs at a time for my businesses, things like that. I've taken money and invested it in the stock market. Invested. That's really what I want for all of you. I want all of you to be successful investors. I want you to put your money away and start buying stock. It's very easy. You just need an account, a bank account, and an account, and you could start purchasing your own stock. We'll go through it a little bit about how you follow the stocks and what you look for. But basically, it's buy low, sell high, or buy low and hold. That's my advice, and I think someone like Warren Buffett, who I showed you a video, and I'll put another video of Warren Buffett up tomorrow. Warren Buffett really looks for good, strong stocks with stable organizations, people who manage it, things that people like, people that people eat or use every day, things that he sees are good, strong companies that will be around 10 years from now. And then he buys a massive amount of stock. He has the ability to buy, but he invests for other people. See, the way he got wealthy was he invested for himself. Yes, of course he invested for himself. But he became a broker, and really a broker, but more like a money manager. And he would take other people's money and invest their money. And most of the people who started with him and who stayed with him, these are people who he started in Omaha, Nebraska. He's considered like a genius on Wall Street. And he took people's money and invested it, and he did extraordinarily well over the long term, so that most of the people who started early with him, who gave them a couple of $1,000s to begin with, whatever, $10,000 to invest their money to begin with, he did very well by them, and they made billions of dollars. They made billions of dollars. So if I invested with Warren Buffett in the 1950s, $10,000, 1950s, $10,000, I would be a multi-billionaire today, a billionaire. Now, that doesn't mean that you're all going to be billionaires, but you will all, there's a great book that you should read. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. If you get a chance, it's an old book. And basically it's about how if you save, if you are fairly frugal, but you don't have to be totally frugal, you could still live your life. If you save your money and put it into the stock market, when I say save, I mean put it into the stock market, and you buy certain good stocks, meaning strong stocks that you feel will be around, that are going to be, well, he doesn't invest in, stocks that come and go and companies that come and go. He looks for long-term companies that are strong companies. If you do that, then over a period of time, with a certain rate of return on your stocks, you will become a millionaire yourself, multi-millionaire yourself. Now, $1 million isn't what it was, 20 years ago, but you get what I mean. You'll become wealthy. Now, it's wealth on paper. It's not wealth in the real world. Until you sell it, it's not real wealth. So I still live a very modest life. I don't have I have, a car. I sent my kids to college. I live in a nice house, but not a mansion. But when they say the millionaire next door, you don't know what money people have. I mean, there are all sorts of things about, the janitor up in Vermont who left, $10 million to his, his the high school that he went to, or the old woman who used to walk down the street who would who would go with her coupons and buy a gallon of milk, leaving $25 million in her will to her, her family. Those are not unusual stories. Those are stories about people who invested their money in the stock markets, and usually in the stock markets, and were wise investors, and didn't sell their stock, and reinvested whatever dividends they were making, and made that kind of money over a period of time. Now, I think I've talked enough for today, but I hope I got you a little bit excited about this, because you're going to need to kind of have that energy every day to kind of look up your stock and tell me what your stock is doing, and tell yourselves, tell your family members. You really want to get interested in the stock market, almost like a game, almost like, if you're interested in sports, or you're interested in science, or you're interested in history, you should be interested in the stock market. You should have like that energy and look at different things, look at different companies and different products, and see who makes them. I like those things. I really should find out who makes that, what company makes that, and I should invest in that company. And there are companies I like fancy things. Not that I like to buy them, but I like going to stores and seeing high-end things. I don't purchase them because I know that I don't have the money, and also it's a waste of money sometimes. But there is a company that I enjoy watching, and I purchase stock in it. Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, LVMH, which is a high-end company that owns many high-end companies, and it's traded on the stock exchange. And the reason I wanted that company is I've always thought that even in a downturn market, and when things are not going well, there are always wealthy people who are purchasing goods. Now, you say, well, yeah, but even when things are not going well, people with money like to buy nice things. And so I invested in this company, and I've done very well with this company. And why am I bringing it up? I'm bringing it up because I enjoy watching that company and going into the stores and seeing people buy things from that company, and knowing that it's helping my pocket. My stock prices go up. That's one of the things. It's a strange thing. I know you may say, but then again, if you own like Warren Buffett, go back to him. He owned McDonald's. He owned a lot of shares of McDonald's, and he owned a lot of shares of Dairy Queen. And his favorite thing, and in fact, it wasn't just a favorite thing. He did it himself. He would order McDonald's all the time. He would go places and order McDonald's. He'd go to a fancy restaurant and have them bring in McDonald's. Why? Because he owned 10%, 20% of McDonald's stock at that time, and he wanted to show that he was actually, utilizing the product, and actually he wanted people to understand that go to McDonald's, it's good food. This is something that you want to do because it made him money. I feel the same way when I go to a store that is owned by Louis Vuitton or something. I go to a Louis Vuitton or Tiffany's or one of their high-end stores that they own. I enjoy watching people buy things like a bag for $15,000 or $20,000 or $40,000. I kind of crack up a little because listen, they have the money to spend on that that handbag or whatever it is that they're buying, or luggage, but that money is helping earn money for me with my stock prices. On that note, have a great day. Welcome back, and get me your aha moment for your business, and then we'll talk more about the five-page paper, and I will talk a little bit more about corporations and stocks in the next class, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.